Welcome. I'm Carlin Diamond, and I've been on this planning group for the town hall meeting for a year. We've had great success inviting people to come and talk about subjects of community interest for a whole year, and we're starting another one, so this is the first in a series. First town hall meeting of the 2014-15 season. I wrote down some notes so I don't wander too much. There'll be 4 more meetings this year about various topics of community interest every other month, one in November, January, March, and May. We are happy you are here to get to know our candidates for City Council and for Supervisor of the 3rd District. This town hall format is designed to give our community optimal opportunity to question and discuss with each candidate issues of great importance to us. We are also grateful that these 5 candidates, who are also our neighbors and our friends, who share our concern about our community and its path forward. So grateful they have stepped up to represent us in our local governmental process. Thank you so much. I'd like to give you a hand for just doing this. Yeah. All members of the Town Hall Planning Committee who make these events happen. So we would really like a little more help on our Town Hall Planning Committee. We're slimming down in numbers, and we need a little more help with setting up events like this. So if you have some interest in being on the Town Hall Planning Committee, please see me anytime today. People have asked me what the difference is between a town hall meeting and other meetings, like City Council, Revite Ed, a lecture for information gathering, a debate, etc. The big difference in my mind is that this meeting has to be experienced to get the full value from it. It's not a place where we come to judge who's right and who's wrong. This is a place where the main purpose is to listen to the concerns of our neighbors and other community members, as well as the speakers. I've been delighted with the wealth of knowledge which has come forth from the community through these meetings. This is a place where our responsibility for the health and happiness of our shared community and for the common good is the point. A place where we can look into each other's eyes and ask a further question if we don't understand, or where we can follow up with comment if we have further knowledge to share. With no further ado, I would like to introduce our candidates, and they will speak for approximately 5 minutes, and then we will open up. You can see the agenda over there, perhaps. We'll open up for ideas, comments, discussions for about an hour.
My name is Larry Stranske, and I taught woodshop at the city for the Willits Unified School District for 35 years. I started here in 1963 and taught many of the people that are in our community now, their sons and grandsons and whatever. There's kind of a story, and I'll elaborate from what I'm going to say, that when the 3rd generation came around to woodshop, it was time for me to leave. So that's when I retired. Thank you. I'm asking you to vote for me for the next term for the Willits City Council. A city council's strong tradition is the ability to carefully listen, value the community, the members of the community, interested people, and questions and concerns that they might have. That's my job. A good government relationship is a local level based kind of problem solving where solutions provide a best solution for the whole community, not just a minority, but a whole community. Every decision you make you must take into consideration a long-term account of what's going to happen. The growth, the planning, short-term thinking will not bring the best results for the future needs of our community. And I would say that this would actually, everybody up here is thinking the same thing that I'm saying. My concern at this particular time are several items, and I will try to go over them in the time I have. My concerns at this time are Caltrans completion of the bypass and the city responsibility to take on our bridges, streets, and stoplights, which we have never done before as a city. We will be responsible for maintaining the streets, 2 bridges, and 2 stop signs, and the road itself, and side light. And we're going to do this on a 1/2-cent sales tax, and that's the only amount of money that the city has to do these things. I want to help the community and the council and the staff prepare for this. I want to have city limits go from the southern part of the city of Willits to the northern part of the Willits, and make it a small, pleasant community that we can all provide for our future of our families, and make this a destination, not just a road that comes through to go to someplace else. And that's what I'm all about. The one thing that other than the bypass that I think is a real concern is water. And when you get down to water, the one thing that you want to consider is our infrastructure. We have an aging infrastructure which is pretty old, and so we need to consider the things that we need to do before the relinquishment. And when I refer to relinquishment, that is when the state is going to turn over the street from the northern boundaries of the city of Willits down to Highway 20. And we need to make several things happen before this actually, and they put the pavement down on the road and give it back to the city. One of them is a water line that needs to go from Commercial Street, which is right out here, all the way up to, which is the tennis courts. I'll just leave it at that. And we really need that because we have a decrepit system, and I want that in before they start paving, and that's just what we need to do, and we need to really consider that. I do thank you for your past support. Hope that you will continue to vote for me to work for you for the next 4 years, and I need your vote. My name is Larry Stranske, and I'm running for Willits City Council. Thank you very much.
My name is Tom Woodhouse. I will take this time to give you an idea of who I am and why I'm running. It's just unfolding for me as we go as well. I was named for my grandmother. Her name was Chase Going Woodhouse. She was the first female Democrat in the House of Representatives, and she served 2 terms. And her husband was a political science professor. And my older brother is a political science professor, and my father was being groomed for office and doing all the stuff I'm doing, the cleanups, and he did a lot more church and Rotary, and was an excellent community person. He passed away when I was 6 years old, and you can tell I still miss him. He was a wonderful man. He was like Atticus in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was tall and dark and handsome and very confident and charismatic, and our lives totally changed by coming out to California. We weren't going to prep school in the military. We were young and free, and I came up to Willits and with my wife Carlin, and we found ourselves and built our home. So I've always seen life as a very fragile, changeable, flexible thing. So I think anything is possible. I think what we have now here is the reality that we create and we work on, and it's fine. But I really think we can do better with just a little bit of work too. If we work together with some common goals, we really couldn't be stopped. I've been in the schools since my kids left, and I never left the schools because the need is so much there. The young people need our help. They need vocational education and just mentors and friendship to have the opportunities that we've all shared, and that's what I'm going to continue to do with them. I've just left the site council at the high school after 20 years, and I'll still be touching back there. For the last 8 years, we've been cleaning up the town, working with the police and with all the community members, cleaning up not just the creeks, but the valleys and the schools and the streets. And it doesn't really matter if you have plans for some grand thing in the future. If you can't take care of what you have now and be proud of what you have, you're really not going to become something later. You start with the basics and take care of what you have, and that's how I've lived my life. Now it's the time to get more involved. I realized today that this just clicked when my daughter graduated from college, and I felt free to jump into this race. It wasn't something I'd planned, but the call of the heritage that people in my family have done this for generation after generation is deep in me, and I have a fire burning, and I want to represent all of us, not just what I want. I don't have a specific agenda of what I want. I want to work with you and find our agenda and make it happen. I won't go over my 5-minute time. If that's about it, I would be, okay? I'm excited about what we can accomplish, and I'm so impressed. I just want to take 1 minute to thank a few of the people that have endorsed me. It's very heartwarming, and it's given me so much energy. Tom Allman, I've worked with him with the work release prisoners, with 35 guys, not prisoners, they're work release human beings that got DUIs. We spent thousands of hours cleaning up our community, but just watching them grow as community members, and then people like you would come along, thank them, and then they would just become more solid citizens. There's so much potential for this. And working with children that I'm excited to move up and then bring the lessons back to not just Willits. We have to remember it's Laytonville and Covelo are on a further edge than we are. They don't have the police department. They don't have much of what we have, but they have great community spirit. There's wonderful people out there. Johnny Pinches is supporting me. Jim Little, the fire chief up in Laytonville. I have literature out, and I'll go over all the endorsements, but that's not the most important thing. The important thing is that they see in me the person who can listen and act and lead and take us into a better future, and that's my intention. Thank you.
Thank you, and first of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I like the town hall format, and it's good to mix it up. So for those of you who don't know me so well, many of you probably know me as the hometown girl that returned home, and I've now been serving as your mayor, but many of you may not know that when I graduated from college, I graduated from UCSC with a degree in business management and economics, and Gabe and I actually moved out to Northburg, California to, I think we had a dream of having a self-sufficient lifestyle, as I'm sure a dream that many of us share. But what we discovered, and what I discovered living out there, is that you can't have a self-sufficient lifestyle without community, and a strong community at that. And so when we settled and bought our house here in town, it really just brought home for me how having a strong community is what we need to get by, especially in a town our size, in a community our size. So that's when I decided to volunteer and run for city council, which I've been doing for about 10 years. And I'm really proud of what we have accomplished on the city council. There's been some extreme challenges, but we have been able to build the first skate park in Mendocino County, the first one in Mendocino County, which was huge. It was not easy. We were able to put solar panels on the water treatment plant. We were able to build up a reserve, a budget reserve, to help us through tough times, which we have had a number of. And we really have a good group, and I just want to make sure to thank my fellow city council members, and not all of them are here, but it's, you're putting yourself out there. And I want to thank the candidates as well, because you really are, we all want to contribute, and so this is the manner in which we're choosing to give back, and it's not always easy, and yet at the same time, I find it really incredibly rewarding. I really do enjoy serving. So I have a great deal of respect for my competition for Tom in this supervisor race, but there are differences between us, as hopefully we'll get to talk about this evening. And I want to put out there that if you are wanting a supervisor that is a leader on the drought issue, you should vote for me. If you want a supervisor that has connections with our local congressman and senator and assembly members to make sure that they are working for us, then you're going to work for me. You're going to vote for me. Excuse me. I'm working for you. That's how that goes. And if you want to have a supervisor that's absolutely focused like a laser on our business community, I've done a lot of great work here with the city of Willits focusing on our business development, but we need to continue to do that countywide, because the small businesses are really what keep us going. So that is my focus. We have a ton of work to do countywide, and those are the things that you'll be getting if you choose to vote for me for your next supervisor. So thank you guys all for coming here tonight, and I'll be sure to answer lots of questions.
There's a story about Abraham Lincoln in one of his early campaigns. It was a small office. He got up, he told a story. He said, "My father told me 3 things about running for public office. First, you stand up tall so everybody can see you. You speak up so everybody can hear you. And then you sit down promptly so everyone will like you." And he sat down immediately and won the election. I'm not Abraham Lincoln, can't do that. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. First thing I want to say is thank you all for being here. This is really exciting, and this is one of the things I love most about Willits, is we all talk to each other. We see each other in the supermarket, we talk about issues, we work together. That is our strength. I will repeat it for those of you who don't know me. I am Robin Leler. It rhymes with stellar. Oh, it's not too cute. I'm so glad. I was worried about that. People ask me a lot why I'm running, of course, and I'll be straightforward with you. I think we are heading for a lot of trouble. I think we have economic troubles. Everybody knows about this. We have environmental troubles. As we speak, there are giant marches all over to speak to climate change, which is here. These issues are global. And here in Willits, we have the chance to come together as a community and do our part for solving this little corner of the world. The economic issues, the environmental issues, they're intertwined. We cannot move forward economically if we're not taking care of our environment and our natural resources wisely. I often I've been involved in environmental projects for probably 40 years. It astounds me that many environmentalists don't have a good grasp of the economics. Then I go to economic forums, and they're so focused on economics, they don't want to talk about the environment. Please remember, ecology, economics are the same root word. They depend on each other. The resources I see here in Willits, first of all, we're an independent rural community of front porches, of talking to each other. Our natural resources are astounding, not just redwoods, but streams, salmon in our streams, wild blackberries. This is why I moved up here. I'm all about food self-sufficiency, and I felt this is the place to do it. We have wild turkeys, we have deer, grass-fed beef. This community has every opportunity to return to food self-sufficiency. We've done it before, and we have all the resources to do it. Let's not forget our people resources. Number 1, musicians. We have probably more musicians per capita than any county in the state. I'm guessing, but it's not too far from the truth. We have entrepreneurs, inventors, small business people. We have ranchers. We have a horsemen's association. We have the longest running rodeo in California history. These are all resources that need to be put to work. We have to use them wisely to move forward. My background, I moved here in 1982. I came with Ecology Action to help John Jevons set up the research farm up on Pine Mountain. I had 15 years with Ecology Action, working on issues like solar energy and bicycle repair workshops, recycling, but mostly small farming and food self-sufficiency is my main area of expertise. In between, I've run small businesses, both for Ecology Action and for profit. So I have about 12 years of experience with small business. I know the economics from the ground level. Half of our jobs in California come from small family businesses, and we need to capitalize on that resource. I have over 20 years of teaching experience. I taught at Willits High School as a substitute in the 90s. I got my teaching credential. I spent 14 years working for Mendocino County Office of Education, first with Court Community School kids. I had a classroom here behind Mendo Mill. Then I moved into independent study. I've also taught at college level. With Ecology Action, I taught at UC Santa Cruz and at Stanford, classes in food self-sufficiency. Last year, I taught business math here at Mendocino College. So those are my three strengths. I have a background in education, the environment, and economics. As a teacher, I find that I am learning as much or more than I am teaching. I listen, I know how to bring a community together and move forward. I think the single event that catapulted me into deciding I needed to run was concerns about water. We all know we're in a drought. I don't need to repeat that, the seriousness of it. But while we're thinking about having enough water, let's not forget the issue about the quality of our water. We need good quality drinking water. This is a global issue, but in this community, because we're small enough, we have an opportunity to really do something about it. Willits depends on water for our health and for our wealth. Most of our revenue comes from supplying water to the community. Last spring, we had a pretty scary incident. Back in the spring, over a year ago, we exceeded the state health standards for known carcinogens. Even though this happened in the spring, we were not notified officially until November 8th, 6 months later. I became really concerned. I started talking to everybody I knew. I teamed up with Dr. Mills Matheson, who has been working on water issues for 40 years, probably. I went down to the Office of Drinking Water, used to be Public Health. I combed through their records. I started asking questions. I started talking to Harry Brown. He was the mayor of Willits back in the 80s, and he is responsible for funding and getting built Centennial Dam. He left in place a plan for improving our water system steadily over the years. So the plan is there, and we can still go back to that plan and get good drinking water. All of us, everyone I have mentioned, is convinced that the danger to our water supply last year could have been avoided. I don't have enough time to go into the details. I'll be happy to talk more about it. It has to do with algae blooms, it has to do with watershed management, the deferred maintenance, and I have to point out, Larry and Virginia have been on top of the water issue for as long as I've lived here, and I want to thank them for that. I hope to continue their good work. There's also the danger of pumping groundwater. Wells are going dry in the Central Valley. We need to be realistic when we examine these issues. So I'll end with this thought, that water, like government, should be transparent. We should be able to talk honestly about it. So this is what my campaign is about. I don't have all the answers. I expect I'll learn from all of you as much as I bring to the table. We're here because of transparency, of being able to listen to each other and build a better future. You can call me anytime. I'm in the phone book. Been in the phone book since, 20 years at least. Just remember the word Leler. It rhymes with stellar. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ron Orenstein, and I'm proud to say that I was not born in Willits, because if I was born in Willits, I would not have had any say in the matter. My parents would have decided that I would live in Willits. And I didn't wind up in Willits by accident because my car broke down on the Ridgewood grade. In fact, my wife and I came to Willits on purpose. We drove 2,700 miles from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for the sole purpose of moving to Willits. And I have to tell you, we lived in the same house in Pittsburgh for 28 years, raised our kids there, had friends, had a life, and we never quite felt like we were at home until we moved into a rented house in Willits in the middle of an El Nino year. And we were sleeping on our air mattress until our furniture got here. But from the moment we walked into the door, we felt that we were home. Within a year of our arrival, I totally immersed myself in this town because I realized that there were opportunities, having come from the big city on the East Coast to the small town on the West Coast. I realized that this is a different place. I was getting involved with something else, and by God, I changed my life, and I was going to really, really get involved with this town. And I got involved in just about every grassroots group or committee that was organized to improve the quality of life in the local economy, starting with One Town, One Vision. And I made a mistake one night. It was at the Environmental Center. It was right when a group of people got together at the Environmental Center to view a movie on peak oil. And I went there, and I viewed it, and we sat around afterwards, and we discussed the whole thing. And the mistake I made is that I made a comment. I was on the city council at the time, and I made a comment, and the next day I saw it in the newspaper. So I thought, okay, I'm committed. I better continue coming to this thing. So I stayed with Well in their formative years. I served on the coordinating committee for a couple of years, and then I moved on. I served on the grand jury for the 1999-2000 session. And then in 1998, I applied to be appointed to fill a seat on the city council. The seat opened because one of the council members, Tom Lucier, had been elected to the Board of Supervisors. And there was a 2-year term that still remained that had to be filled, and it was to be filled by the city council interviewing applicants. And I decided, why not? So I applied. There was 4 of us that applied. And the city manager at the time, Gordy Logan, told me that I came in a close second. And then he put me to work doing things. The first thing he asked me to do was to put together a volunteer organization for the town. I mean, I didn't know anybody here, but I thought, okay, why not? Let's give it a shot. And I started making some contacts, and we started moving forward with this organization. Never happened here in town, but it did lead to the county volunteer organization. I was invited to participate in the formation of that, and NCO still is operating the volunteer organization in the county, and I'm pretty proud of my participation in that. But one thing that I realized when I had applied for this empty seat was that I better learn a little bit more about the town. I thought I knew something, and I proved myself to be wrong. So for the next 4 years, I attended every city council meeting from beginning to end. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that at the time, my attendance record was better than some of the council members was. And that's a fact. Finally, in 2002, 4 years later, I decided I'm ready to run. And I ran for the city council, and I was elected to my first term on the city council. I've served 2 years. I'm coming to the end of my second term on the city council, and I continue my dedication to public service, initiating and being proactive by leading several efforts. I don't like to sit around and wait for things to happen. I like to make things happen. I don't like to talk about it. I like to do. Holly referred to the solar panels at the water plant. That was my project. Sitting with the Energy Committee of Well, we discussed solar panels and discussed them and discussed them and discussed them some more. And being an action kind of guy, I thought, okay, enough talk. We got to do something. So I decided that the best way to do this is to get some solar panels. Instead of trying to convince 2,000 property owners to put solar panels on their roofs, I felt it might be quicker and easier to do it in the city. And in my position on the city council, I felt I had an inside track. So I went through the records, the PG&E records, for 12 months. And I found out that there are like 42, 43 meters that the city owns. And I went through all of those records for 12 months, and I made a spreadsheet to determine exactly how much electricity is being used in this town, where it's being used, and how much it costs us. And we used that as a basis to put together the plan to put the solar. We identified that the water plant would be the best place to do this because it was the second largest user of electricity in town. Sewer plant was the biggest, but we were rebuilding the sewer plant, and we felt, and the highway was coming through, so there was too many unknowns, so we decided that we'll go for the water plant. And we now have solar panels in the water plant. They were activated in about 2008, and they've been churning out electricity like wildfire. And right now, as we speak, I'm in the middle of the project that I initiated to get solar panels installed on the rest of the city property. And this time we're working with Gaia Electric down the street, a locally owned company. And it looks like, we're still working through the numbers, but it looks like we will be able to cover about 80% of the solar, of the electrical needs for the city. And while we're paying off the loan, and we will still come out with an average of about $115,000 a year extra, paying off the loan and avoiding the PG&E cost. I'm hoping that this thing can be done by the end of this year, hopefully before November 4th, but you know, you never know. But it'll be done. We're going to be ready to bring it back to the City Council maybe next month with a solid proposal. And I'm pretty proud about that. The other thing that I'm currently involved in is water. And as you're probably all aware, the city is installing an emergency water system in the valley that's going to use water pumped out of the aquifer and going through the treatment plant that we've already installed. That's underway, but what I have noticed by watching the news and reading the newspapers is, as you're all aware, the entire state is in a deep drought. And it was alluded to earlier that there's a lot of water pumping going on, and there's aquifers in the Central Valley that are being depleted. I don't want to see that happen here. There's too many people who rely on the Little Lake aquifer to let that happen. So I've started working towards this already. There are several players that have to be involved with doing something about the aquifer. The city, of course, because we own property in the valley and we will be pumping water on an emergency basis. The county, because the rest of the valley falls under their jurisdiction. And of course, the property owners who have wells out there. And every one of them has to be part of this discussion. So I've proposed that we form a task force with all these players to study the issues. And the issues that we have to look at are, number one, we have to map the aquifer. How much water do we actually have in the aquifer? There have been some studies. We have a rough idea of how much water is there, 30 to 60,000 acre feet, which is a lot of water. We also know that some of the water is clean and pure, and some of the water has arsenic and other nasty stuff in it. But there are good quality areas of water, so we need to identify exactly where they are, how much water is located in each of these things, and measure how it's drawn down. And that can be done. Another aspect of this proposed task force is that under normal circumstances, people in the valley get dry wells anyway. So I'm thinking that it would be a good idea if we can hook everything together under one big water system, so to speak, so that if and when these wells run dry because they're shallow, they'll still be able to tap into the main stream and still get water whenever their wells run dry. So these are things that I want to see happen, and I'm already in contact with the county and Department of Water Resources, and that's going to be ongoing. So to wrap it up, I'm dedicated to do everything in my power to continue to work for the benefit of the citizens of Willits. I believe that using intelligence and common sense to solve our problems is an attribute that never goes out of style. And to that end, I ask for your support this November to give me the opportunity to continue working for you. Thank you.